you go out in nature, a lot of trees are, the top breaks off and there's new leaders that come up, and oftentimes they compete for who's going to be the new leader. So there's sometimes multiple leaders, and that's what your trees might end up with tonight. Who's taking the workshop? Who's working with the trees? Okay. So don't think that the tree should just come to a point. It should, deciduous trees when they mature are rounded, and when trees are growing when they're young, they grow real fast. And then what happens? They get old, and like people, they just bend down and have more rounded feel to them. So this is what we want to achieve with our trees tonight, is the beginning of that rounded, more mature look of the tree. And we're going to be taking the branches down, but not completely down like this, like a conifer would be, where we want the branches to come down because of ice and snow and things that dictate that look. But think of an old mature tree out in a meadow, say where the cows hang out, and maybe go in for protection from the sun in the summertime. These trees are more roundish, more branched, and more equal as far as branch patterns are concerned. And sometimes there's thicker branches on the top of the tree as opposed to just the bottom parts of the tree. Even though the bottom part is the older part, broadleaf trees or deciduous trees discard sometimes. And one of the pictures that we didn't see is one of my favorites. I take my bonsai friends and students to see. It's a 250-year-old sycamore tree that the trunk is from here to about here around. It would take about 10 of us hand to hand to hug this tree. And it's one of the branches might be this big, but it might be part way up the tree, not just at the bottom of the tree. And so this tree's taught me a lot just about tree design. And so I take friends over and how you might plan out your positioning. So we use this tubing. We'll just cut it and put around, and we'll drill holes around your pot, and then we'll run the cable of wire down and position the branch down in how you want it. Now, if you want this branch to be at this position to end up, and I'm not saying that, I haven't looked at the tree, but do it a little further down, because it does want to retract back up to its original position. I always use this. My mother she was a nurse, and she always said, have protection, so use this. Personally, I like this side a little better than the other side as far as lean is concerned. What you could do is someday incorporate like a rock in here.
Underneath, yeah.
Underneath, and let these roots are very flexible like the top, so you can work roots over a rock, so that might be a good suggestion. This tree's a little tall, and it's got a short, powerful trunk, so I would focus on this area. Even though it was grown this far, it was to help thicken the trunk. Now I start to say, okay, I'm going to keep this, but this is going to be stumped, this is going to be cut back hard, this will be short, and this will be short. So you're bringing the tree in. So if you want, you can take pieces of wire or something and just wrap where you think you'll cut it, and see how it looks before you even cut it.
Yeah, get the visual.
Just starting out the visual aspect of it. But as I mentioned, we could stump this tree and it'll bud out like that. I'm not saying that, but it has that ability. So, but now I think you can be chasing this tree a little back a little further.
So you think taking this one out completely?
Well, down as a stump.
Okay.
So somewhere in there.
Will it back bud?
There's a
below the
bud
stump
right
then?
there, and there's buds that we didn't see it.
Yeah.
The part of the program that we didn't get to see was how I took a hornbeam, and I take 30-foot trees, cut them to 2 to 3 feet, and I take sphagnum moss and wrap the trunk. There's no branches at all, and I got about 20% more branches coming out of that stump than not, and that was part of my program that didn't happen. So, and these have the same ability, and you can be pretty aggressive with them. Okay, so I'm seeing the tree somewhere in around this height. Maybe this will still be the dominant, but even though I had some nice cuts here, started a ramification, you might end up
Taking it off right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this one back there, and this maybe you can just take the stubby one there, and this one back, leave the small one. This one's long, so cut this back. There's a bud right there showing you. This one here, you can cut to here.
Okay.
And these, of course, get chased back. So that's probably what you want to do. If you want, you can just take a piece of wire or something.
Yeah.
The argument for this side is the nice height of this, but it'll be ending up in this area. The use of these three main four main, this one, this one, this one, this one. Probably this one will be stumped, this one will come off, this one will come off, this will come off. So you'll have a powerful base here, and then you're going to build the tree from the base with using 1, 2, 3, 4.
Okay.
And maybe at this angle a little bit, okay? And this needs to be cut back.
Right.
And most of the branches up here you're going to use, but they're just going to be shortened here. Coming on this side, you got a nice powerful base, and the argument would be to cut all that off and work with these. Actually, these three, 1, 2, 3, and this would be short. And you'd have a shoheen butt. I should have left some leaves. These leaves are about this big. It's that size. So to have a shoheen, or a short one, with a leaf that size, it's not going to be in scale. So your choice is the better choice. Okay? Your choice is the better choice to be somewhere in this area as a viewing site. You can cut this root off anytime.
Okay.
All right. This one I would work with yet, and you can take a piece of copper wire. Apexes, so that's okay. Yeah. So you could actually keep this if you desire and say, I think I'd rather work with both of them. And this is kind of working well together. Even though this is straight, it'll get some buds here. If you just cut some of these back, you'll get some bud back in that area too.
Okay.
And of course these you can clean up, and this you can chase back a little bit. So you're just chasing back a little bit tonight. Maybe you're going to drill a hole and bring this down a little bit, and maybe some of these down a little bit, just to come in a better pattern. I don't think you can use a wine cork on this one. But, maybe if you wanted to put a wine cork in here and separate that one, that's pretty strong already and stiff. And then this, if you want to repeat, this is going around there, this could go around here, you know? You know, you got a theme going. So that could be a possibility. So that's that side, and then the side you'd like here, it's not bad either. Still probably use this and just carve this, maybe make a hole in this one, a hole in that one, possibly a hole in that one, and get a theme going that way.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Just be careful with these tie downs that they don't go into the wire, so you might have to change that this spring. You have this nice movement here also. So this could be possibly the viewing side of the tree, or both. Having it here,
Paul, your argument of multiple.
this is kind of interesting, but this is coming right out at us. And so when we look at it, our eye hits this first, and then has to go into the main part of the tree. Where if you go here, this provides a background, and our eye goes right to the appeal of the tree, which is this view. So I would argue possibly is this is the front of the tree, and this would be the second viewing side of the tree. Okay. But again, I would still cut this back because
Yeah.
it's getting a little too tall. And this is the feature of the tree. The further you get away from the feature of the tree, the less impact of the focal point. And so this is the focal point of that. His tree, the focal point's in the middle of the tree, not the top, not the bottom. Well, the bottom is pretty nice there too. But his focal point's more in the middle of the tree, where yours is from here. Yours is pretty much the whole tree as far as the focal point. But getting away from the focal point, the argument is to get this cut
Now,
back.
when you cut something like this, is it like a half inch above this branch, would you
It's
say?
the diameter of, at least the diameter of the branch you're pruning. So if this is arguably about a half an inch diameter, you leave it half an inch trunk.
Okay.